Which celebrities killed their careers in a matter of seconds? Jared Fogle. Ian Watkins. Lost Prophets weren't exactly popular when the news of his extremely disturbing pedophilia broke out, but the band has been tainted forever and it still feels weird hearing one of their songs. Aaron Hernandez. Got a multi-million-dollar contract extension with the Patriots only to murder his friend and haphazardly disposing of the body and evidence. Oscar Pistorius. Natalia Kills. Pun intended. She and her husband were being huge assholes on New Zealand TV. Ashley Simpson. Milli Vanilli. When it was revealed that they were lip syncing and not really singing, it was one of the biggest scandals in the history of the music industry. Their careers were destroyed instantly. Brendan Fraser. He disappeared so fast that you can't even remember why. The Dixie Chicks tried really hard but didn't quite succeed. Still breathing. Once upon a time there was a band called Blue. 14 million sales worldwide indicates a healthy level of success. While in the States trying to secure a US record deal, they held an interview shortly after the 11th of September attacks, where band member Lee Ryan was recorded as saying, "This New York thing is being blown out of proportion," and asked what about whales? They are ignoring animals that are more important. Animals need saving and that's more important. Before rambling on about elephant hunting, they did not get the record deal. Ryan went on to marry a hairdresser he met on MySpace, which ended with him getting charged with assault. All because of whales. Uniton, and that's why you never talk it about jackdaws. That guy who played Kramer. For the older Redditors, Billy Squire. He really was moving up in the music world when he let a director make a really awful music video that obliterated his career. Obviously Cat Williams. Edit. It's not just all the drugs and court cases. He's really on some other it now. Edit 2. Somebody that claims to know the people in the video say he was handing money to kids and taking pictures next to a soccer game. Lance Armstrong. Went from greatest Tour de France bicyclist ever to greatest Tour de France fraud ever in a matter of weeks. Tonya Harding. Female figure skater. Hired a goon to break Nancy Kerrigan's leg. Edit. Tonya. Easily Jennifer Grey. She had a diverse resume of acting and was unconventionally pretty. Went and had plastic surgery and voila career killed. Paul Walker. Too soon? Not soon enough? Halle Berry. Went from Oscar winner to Catwoman in moments. Brian Williams. Proved one lie destroys credibility. When you're in an industry whose business is credibility, it's totally devastating. B.O.B. Still a good rapper, but now also the laughingstock of the internet after trying to defend the flat earth theory, and also making a diss track against Neil deGrasse Tyson for trying to convince him otherwise. O.J. Simpson. Dude was literally beloved. In sports and Hollywood, it's very rare for retired athletes to have the success that O.J. did, but he was also a bit of a psychopath. Adam Johnson. Not only did the little piece of it groom a 15-year-old girl, he also had extreme animal pornography. Was normal animal porn not good enough for you? And what are the boundaries between regular animal porn and extreme animal porn? Edit. As per U/3226, apparently the police refer to any animal porn as extreme because compared to normal porn, any porn with animals is extreme. Are politicians celebrities? If so, Howard Dean. Gary Busey. Came out against motorcycle helmets, gets in a motorcycle accident without a helmet on, gets brain trauma. Now he's just someone people laugh at. He also tried to heckle Robin Williams and that didn't work out so well for him. Edit. If you want to see what's normal Gary Busey is like, check out the movie Silver Bullet. Will Smith's son in After Earth. I think Madonna was officially done. Not just Jesus would she sit down done. When in recent concerts she exposed a child's breast and also rolled around asking who will duck her. She needs to be ducked. It felt like I could see the death of her empire. Eater. Apparently the legal definition of a child being under 18 offends people. According to a handful of epically butt-that Redditors, I should have said a minor's breast, not child's breast. Hopefully now people will be able to sleep tonight. I will no longer be responding to said butthurt redditors. Jerry Lee Lewis shouldn't have married his 13-year-old cousin. John Redwood. Back in the early 90s he was widely tipped as a future leader of Britain's Conservative Party and was doing rather well as Secretary of State for Wales. But then he tried to sing the Welsh national anthem at some official event and, well, this happened. While he remains an MP, he rather faded back into obscurity after that. IDK if this still counts. But Bill Cosby, even though his career was pretty much over at the time he destroyed his legacy. Redditors who don't know what matter of seconds mean. Winona Ryder. She shoplifted over $5,000 worth of designer clothing and accessories at the Beverly Hills Saks Fifth Avenue. Misha Barton. She went from the hottest new rising star to whatever happened to her. Sinead O'Connor. Ripping up a picture of the Pope on live television is never a good idea. Janet Jackson. But really, it wasn't her who destroyed her career, obviously. Justin Timberlake's career has done just fine since 2004. It was the media who blacklisted her who really ruined her career. Elizabeth Barkley. Showgirls. BRB. I don't know if it ducked up her career entirely, but Lena Dunham lost a lot of people when in her memoir, she recounted a story of finding pebbles in her younger sister's V, flippantly referred to her teenage behavior toward her younger sister as predatory without any remorse, and, maybe not in the memoir, but she also outed her lesbian sister and basically treats her like an extension of herself with no room for privacy. The kicker was saying the people confused, disgusted, hurt by this were all old white conservative men, when many in the LGBTQ community were appalled. Carlos Danger, I mean Anthony Weiner, anyone. Carrie Cartona, I think her name was from Atomic Kitten, admitted on TV that she couldn't sing and next thing you know she's on the Dole Q snorting coke. I'll go a bit older and say Wayne Rogers and McLean Stevenson both left MASH after the 3rd season, and not only would the show go on to be one of the longest running and most popular sitcoms of that time, and now, even, but neither would go on really do anything afterwards. Stevenson, Cole Blake, was at least originally offered more money by NBC, though the 2 series he go to star in both flopped and his contract terminated. Rogers, Trapper John, as the story goes, was simply pissed that Alan Alda was getting more lines than he was, despite being originally told his character would be the lead, and decided not to return for the 4th season. Either way, 2 well-known actors who made bad decisions and their careers essentially ended right there. I suppose it is fair to say that Wayne Rogers was at least successful after leaving MASH. I was primarily referring to his acting career. I also didn't include Larry Linville and Gary Berghoff because I don't believe either of those actors were as delusional about where their acting careers were going when they left the show, though I'm sure both would have liked to have been somewhat more successful afterwards. Especially in the case of Berghoff. He really had grown too old to play the character as originally written, and he at least had a pretty good run on the show before that. I think Jimmy the Greek is the benchmark for this sort of thing, and some of us watched it happen on Live TV. Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman. I love the guy and I know he's making a big comeback now, but yeah, yeesh. That was an enormous, rapid tumble from grace for a few seconds in a dark theater. The Horth. Who wants a cheeseburger? Jeb Bush. Please clap. NFL player Ray Rice. Coming off a Super Bowl 2 years prior. Signing a decent contract. 40-something mil if I remember rightly. Entering his 6th season in the NFL. And he was caught knocking his then fiancée out in an elevator. 2 videos existed. It wasn't until the 2nd video revealed the severity of it. Has since married the chick. Already had a daughter with her. Has done a lot in the domestic violence world. But is now about to be 3 years removed from the NFL. Similar to the Aaron Hernandez situation, once the Ravens cut ties with him they offered refunds on jerseys. Rick Moranis stopped his career on purpose, and I applaud him for it. After his wife passed away in 1997, he took an 18-year hiatus to stay home and take care of his kids. Len Bias. He was considered to be as good as Michael Jordan, but on the night he drafted, he overdosed on sugar. For more information watch 30 for 30, without bias. Mitt Romney with his undercover recorded 47% speech. I would say Iggy Azalea with that freestyle video of her. She was one of the biggest artists at the time to a laughing stock. She seems to be getting better though. In terms of literally destroying their career in seconds, there was a guy in the 1950s named Arthur Godfrey who was a very popular radio and TV host. However, after he fired someone on the air, his popularity never recovered. Ray Rice. All it took was a nice right hook. Marco Rubio. Saying the same exact thing 3 ducking times. Aaron Burr. Killed Hamilton as well as his political career. Manny Pacquiao. Before he blew it, he was the champion of Filipinos. Then, he called gays worse than animals. When there are tons of gays in the Philippines. Lost pretty much all his support from that one sentence. Bobby Schmurder. He schmoney danced his way to jail. Megan Fox. She called Michael Bay Hitler and her career has been downhill ever since. That and all of that plastic surgery. Damn shame. Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks insulting G.W. Bush when the song Travelin' Soldier was on the charts. That was some seriously bad timing. Yamcha. Everyone used to talk about him as an awesome bodybuilder, fighter, baseball player, but after one fight, he's now synonymous with disappointment. Stephen Renazisi. When he lied about being in the World Trade Center on 9/11. Isaiah Washington from Grey's Anatomy. That show was so popular hot and he made an anti-gay comment of some kind against a co-actor. The tabloids found out and he was gone. They're not very famous elsewhere, but in France we had that rock band composed of young men called Nast. They split right after the lead singer poked some guy in the eye with a fork. Ian Watkins of Lost Prophets comes to mind. Dude literally ducked babies. When that came to light you knew his career was dead. Thankfully his bandmates, who had nothing to do with all this business, reformed the band under a different name with a different vocalist, and they're gaining some momentum. Robin Thicke. VMAs 2013. His album wife divorced him, so he wrote a cringy album about it in an effort to win her back, entitled Paula, which sold like 20,000 copies worldwide its opening week. For British Redditors, Michael Barrymore had a party and some poor bloke ended up in his pool dead, full of drugs and with severe anal trauma. Let's dispel once and for all the fiction that Marco Rubio didn't smash his career with the glitch. Chris Benoit. One of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time with a legendary reputation. All of such accolades and achievements were to be basically erased after the tragic weekend where Benoit murdered his wife and child and then committed suicide. WWE had a great memorial episode of Raw for Chris, but once information of the murder was made public they quickly tried to erase any history of Benoit from their archives. There was this massive cover-up operation that spanned a few years where WWE wouldn't even say the name Benoit. It's horrible what happened, and even though I'm a huge fan of Chris Benoit the wrestler, Chris Benoit the man was clearly going through something truly terrible. Luckily, the Benoit double murder suicide has made for good evidence to support the growing movement to support concussion research in pro sports. So there is a silver lining. The girl in Clueless. She decided Hollywood was a cesspit of immoral vipers and seconds later ended her own career by not being a part of it anymore. I heard she had a baby and enjoyed motherhood or some such bizarreness. Howard Dean and his scream. I thought it was awesome because he was so pumped, but Howard couldn't take the heat that the media blasted him with. His campaign petered out after that. Sinead O'Connor destroys her career in seconds on SNL. Jesse James cheated on Sandra Bullock, lost his family and show. British singer Duffy, who debuted at the same time as Adele, where's she nowadays? Fatty Arbuckle, accused of killing Starlet through sexual trauma but acquitted after 3 trials, never regained his career. Tiger Woods, never saw anyone fall as far so fast. Take it back in time a bit. Charles Rocket was set to be the breakout star on SNL back in the 80s. He was difficult to work with. But hey, so was Chevy Chase, and he had a nice career. Then he drops an F-bomb live on air, gets fired immediately and ends up with middling movie roles and goes nowhere. Jason Russell. You will say, who is Jason Russell? Remember Connie 2012, the huge social media campaign to bring attention to the brutal tactics of Joseph Khan, the Ugandan warlord. Jason Russell was the guy behind the campaign. Overnight fame, interviews non-stop, and the driving force behind the actual impetus behind the campaign. And then Jason Russell had a breakdown and was running around the street masturbating. End of campaign and end of fame for Jason Russell. It is a shame because the campaign was just picking up steam with rallies in major cities all across the world. Jennifer Grey, very popular in the 80s. Got a nose job and no one recognized her. Her career dried up just like that. She had a few bit roles since then, but she was never able to recover her fame and star power. What did Cuba Gooding Jr. do to his career? He was on top of the world, it seemed, then went to crap. I can't believe no one had said Martin Lawrence. He was at the level of game that Kevin Hart is right now and was arguably on his way to Eddie Murphy level status as a massively successful black comedian who had crossover appeal in movies and TV. And then he decided to get buck naked and loses it in the middle of an intersection while having a nervous breakdown psychotic episode. He was a pariah after that and never recovered his career. People saying obscure celebrity names and not explaining what they did. O.J. Simpson. Wait, it probably took longer than a few seconds to murder people. I don't mean it as a joke, but, sadly, Robin Williams. Troy Duffy, the director of Boondock Saints. He was given an almost unprecedentedly generous and autonomous deal for his script, and he absolutely pissed it away by turning into a complete jackass, seemingly overnight, which is why the name of the documentary that depicts his downfall is called Overnight. Highly recommend. Rarely has so full a display of acquired situational narcissism been documented so comprehensively. Dude pretty much burns every bridge he has and pisses on the ashes. I don't know about the rest of his career, but Cat Williams' boxing career vanished earlier this month. Billy Squier dart that music video, that terrible music video. Ashley Simpson, SNL lip sync flub. Winger. Kip Winger was my step-uncle, and I heard this story from my dad, so who knows if it's true, but Winger was an up-and-coming hair band in the 80s, they sing the song 17. Kip was doing an interview on MTV and whoever the VJ was asked him if he would give him a copy of their new album. Kip said something along the lines of, "You can buy it like everyone else." The VJ responded by saying, "Well, if we don't have it, then we can never play it on MTV." Since that interview, MTV never played another one of Winger's interviews. Do you think Morris Claret counts? Colin Powell after his presentation at the UN Security Council about WMD. If you're into dance electronic music, 10 Walls, at the risk of stating the obvious, for people that aren't familiar with the history of electronic dance music, there have been very strong ties between the dance music scene and the LGBT scene since the start. The response to his intolerance was actually really inspirational. In the course of 24 hours he had every gig he was going to perform cancelled on him and he was dumped by his record label. Previously he had been playing sold out shows and produced one of the biggest house songs of the year. Zinedine Zidane, a true soccer legend who is only remembered by the way he exited his very last game, when he headbutted an opponent and was ejected.